Now that the Oscars are over, we thought we'd take a look at a film that was completely shut out from the Oscars on Sunday, Brady Corbet and Mona Fastvold's The Testament of Anne Lee. In the Oscars before this last one, Corbet and Fastvold got 10 nominations for their last film, The Brutalist, and won 3, including Best Actor for Adrien Brody, Best Cinematography, and Best Original Score.
All is concert, all is summer, while to heaven we are going.
Corbet and Fastvold has been in a relationship since meeting on the set of Mona Fastvold's The Sleepwalker in 2012, which they worked on together and have since co-written all of their projects, and they take turns directing. Mona Fastvold directed this one. The Testament of Anne Lee stars Amanda Seyfried as Anne Lee, the first leader and mother of the Shaker religion. A lot about Anne Lee's life is up for dispute, as she was illiterate, and most of the written stories on her life were written by Shaker followers long after her death. The Shakers were a sect of Quakers who broke away from the mainstream Quaker societies. Growing up in Manchester, England in the 1750s, bored of life as a cook in an infirmary and before that working in the cotton mill, Anne was drawn to the more dynamic religious experiences of the Wardleys, Jane and James Wardley, who had left the Quakers and preferred a version of Quakerism where they cleansed their sin through chanting and movement, derogatorily called dancing by outsiders but laboring by the Shakers. The Wardleys thought that Jesus was coming back soon and that the new Messiah would be in the form of a woman. In some versions of Anne Lee's life, she was viewed as the second coming, the female counterpart to the male Christ. But not all Shaker theology thought that Anne Lee was the female Christ. A different explanation merely has Christ working through her as the female manifestation of his spirit. After being persecuted and jailed in England and losing 4 children in infancy, Anne Lee is said to have had visions, leading her to proclaim that sex was the root of all human sin and our disconnection from God. From then on, the Shakers would abstain from all sexual intercourse, preaching to convert people and adopting children into their communities, but this also meant that they always have to be trying to bring new people in. The visions also told her to go to America, which the Shakers did. Anne's brother William, played by Lewis Pullman in this film, Mary Partington, played by Thomasin McKenzie, Abraham Standerin, Anne's husband, who she stops having sex with after the 4th infant dies, played by Christopher Abbott, Nancy Lee, Anne's niece, played by Viola Prettejohn, and John Hocknell, the guy bankrolling their trip to America, played by David Cale.
But I saw it like through a glass. My vision shall come to pass.
Things start going well in America. The Shakers arrive in New York City and purchase land upstate near Albany to build a community. However, like in England, they're soon at odds with the locals over their strange rituals and their commotion that their chanting causes, as well as their pacifism as America gears up for the American Revolution. They're also under suspicion for being relative newcomers from Britain, and it doesn't take long for the rumor to spread that Anne Lee is a witch. Daniel Blumberg, who worked with Mona and Brady on The Brutalist, and won an Oscar for his original score, wrote the original score for this film too, used the lyrics from Shaker hymns to craft a really experimental musical. Songs like All This Summer, Hunger and Thirst, Bow Down, O Zion, and I Love Mother are from the Shaker hymnal. In the time of Anne Lee, the music of the Shakers was often just vocal, but later they would add instruments.
I mean, it's such a joy to do this kind of research for me. Like, I just love it. It's so great. So I spent years just diving into this part of history. And you know, obviously, I think most people are familiar with their incredible design. You know, the boxes and the chairs and the peg rails, and you know, even that this is sort of like the cornerstone of American design. Really, is shaker furniture, shaker design. So that was really available. But the rest of Ann Lee's story, certain parts of her life, there's only a sentence or just a few little bits and pieces that are available. And then you have to fill in the blanks by, you know, studying Manchester at the time and how people lived and how, you know, and sort of drawing from that. But then after you do all that research, you also have to kind of let it go as you write and just say, now I'm telling the story, now this is my story.
Shakers are also known for their original minimalist furniture designs that express their belief in uniformity, a place for everything and everything in its place. This furniture style lasted longer than the Shakers themselves, who do still exist, but there's only 3 of them living in a community in Maine. The experimental nature of this film means that the visions and testament of Ann Lee are not explained away. They just exist in the story and were shown what Mona Fastvold found in the Shaker archives as what they say happened. Although they may have had insular communities, Shakers also had radical beliefs about race and gender. As they saw all children of God as being inherently equal, Black Americans could join the community, they opposed slavery, and women could be priests. The budget for the Testament of Ann Lee was $10 million. It was largely filmed in Budapest, although also at the Hancock Shaker Village in Massachusetts.
True righteousness, I hunger and thirst.
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/movie night extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Our show gets simulcast, or if we're not on it at regular time, played later on This Space. This Space is a working class independent media collective, youtube.com/thisspacetv. Subscribing really helps out, or even more, sharing content from This Space and encouraging others to do the same. By working together, we can break through the algorithm. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, a streamer on Twitch, twitch.tv/cosmopolitics, a host at This Space, hosting Kristina's Corner, and is across social media at Cosmopolitics and on Letterboxd at Kristina. Forrest and Kristina have a second show, The Absurdity Space, live on This Space on Wednesdays at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Eileen Jones is a film critic for Jackman Magazine, the co-host of the Film Suck podcast, patreon.com/filmsuck, and the author of Film Suck USA. I, of course, am your host, who clothed himself. The sun didn't do shit. Forrest Miller. All is concert. All is summer. All right. How's it going, Eileen?
I'm soldiering on, carrying on. Glad to be talking about Testament of Ann Lee. That's going to cheer me up.
Oh yeah, perfect movie to cheer someone up. I just got done watching the Peaky Blinders movie, and
I've got to review that, and I still haven't watched. I'm scared to. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything, but you know the gun to head Tommy Shelby meme. It be like that anyway.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Wait, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, yeah, exactly. We can only find out. But I've also got to review what's it called? The almost 3-hour Ryan Gosling movie.
The Project
Hail Mary.
Hey, that movie's so overrated though. Haven't you heard? It just got out.
I like how it's been out for like a few days.
Overrated.
It's already overrated.
Yeah.
Yes. We're getting to that point. It's just like
I saw somebody say like see it before film Twitter declares it's overrated, and I'm like you shouldn't need people on the internet that you don't know to like. If they're like, oh, it's overrated, you got to be like, oh, well, I guess it's overrated. But...
Well, I got to go see the Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. I heard that it's like, Godfather Part 2, Alien, Shrek 2 level of like awesome sequels. And I'm like, yes.
Godfather Part 2, Shrek Part 2, same movie basically.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, no kidding, they actually do have a very similar plot if you kind of think about it. Anyway.
But Eileen, you and Dolores had a schism over the Testament of Anne Lee.
We definitely did. She really, and this rarely happens. Usually I'm the hater, but she really disliked it intensely. Ooh. And I liked most of it. I mean, we agreed. We thought the visions were weak, the religious visions. I have a thing about them. But I'm also drawn to material that's about, especially like, sort of 18th, 19th century wild-eyed religiosity in the United States. So I'm
the one good, I would say the one good vision is as she walks up onto the ship deck and you only see the light. She's bathed in the light from the two angels, and then she's like, "We're saved. There's angels up there." Everyone's like, everyone on the ship is like, "What the fuck? Like, no, we're not."
No, we're not. No.
I think it's an interesting thing though, because it's like so much of it is just kind of the Shaker mythology, I guess, or like so it's like you have to choose which stories you want to really include in this, because it's like, all right, well, she speaks in like 72 tongues, and then they have the other one where it's like speaks in 5 tongues, and then it's like but like they're like, well, the one thing everyone agrees on in the story is that she showed somehow she manifested the power of Christ to a point where like they didn't throw her in jail that time, but they threw her in jail the next like 16,000 times.
Right. And there's also like there's very little about any kind of strife schisms within the group, although after the young couple can't handle the celibacy rule because they fall in love and they leave, and then her husband leaves. But you do get the impression all of the angst is coming from outside, from people attacking the group, and it really makes you wonder, can that have been true? I mean,
well, you get a temporary little schism between the one time her brother kind of turns. They're like,
and says, you keep saying they're going to come, all the followers, and they don't come. Yeah.
But I mean, they just got there. But whatever.
That seems like, but it did make me wonder. Wow, was it that smooth sailing internally? I mean,
I feel like every religion has like that thing though. Like a lot of people thought, like, the new some of the new religion movements, like People's Temple, everyone's like, oh wow, but then we learned about a lot of shit that was going down behind the scenes with Jim Jones and his followers and stuff like that. But every religion, you think like, oh, everything looks great.
Oh yeah, a unified front.
And then years later you find out, oh no, it wasn't like that at all.
Well, and this because it's like the like the 1780s by the end of it, I guess. There isn't like usually you get a tell-all or something. Somebody leaves the group and then they write a book and they're like, here's what was happening behind the scenes. But you obviously don't get that because we don't even have Anne Lee's like
tell-alls, right? We essentially have Mary's tell-all.
We did have William Randolph Hearst, running a media company to help expose
the expose.
But like so much of the so much of the information about Anne Lee's life comes from like people like decades or like even like a century later that are writing like, oh, here's what happened to Anne Lee, and it was like, bitch, you weren't there.
Was she even real? Like
you were in the community. Like from birth or whatever, like they would have kicked you out because you
could have lived to be 100. But you didn't tell them the stories. It's all like, I mean, there's been a lot of figures that have kind of like, were they real? Like, did these things that they become more of like a historical fictional type of like urban legendary like type of character where it's like, was this person real? Is this the real story? What happened, or is this stuff that's just been passed down to make their story seem more interesting and like mythological, if not,
Well, it's so extraordinary that there's a claim she's the female Christ on earth. Which is so huge, and so like if anything is going to get you into like major trouble and potential schisms, I would think that would be it. And it also makes you think, what kind of woman was Anne Lee really? Was she really claiming this for herself, or her followers claiming it for her? It's a little bit sketchy.
And at different times they've claimed different things. Like they've said, oh well, she made the claim at one point that she was the female Christ, or the manifestation of Christ in female. And then like
Right.
there's that little distinction, which, you know, if you know anything about like Catholicism or like, you know, the split between Catholics and Anglicans, like these little things
And
like,
Lutherans,
oh, is it really,
Protestants.
well, no, is it three gods in one, or is it three separate beings, or is it one being in three forms? Like all of these things that I'm like, you know, you sit there like a long time later, you're like, I don't think any of these things are real. So it's like
this is why Ariana Grande has a song called "God Is a Woman," because she thought about Eileen probably.
But it's not even like,
and it's just like we can't because I don't know. Maybe the movie hasn't done that well because people can't invest even in the. People are so into like I don't believe it that perhaps it dims the interest, which for me is the opposite. I'm like I am so interested in people.
Yeah, like was this Quaker life like what? Because you never really hear much about Quakers.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Well,
That's
my mom went to Quaker high school, so I've heard a good amount about Quakers. But it's like I don't know, like the Shakers ended up being so different because a big part about the Quakers, they're very welcoming, but my understanding is like it's a very austere, like it's casual in that they have the meeting houses, but it's a very austere kind of thing where it's like they use the one of my favorite things about Quakers is they use the thee and thou. Like they're like the mother, thou father, like they still use that even in like the 1900s. They were still using that.
Well, I also love that so many of the politically progressive movements of the 1800s are attached to these religious movements. I mean, so many of them were like the Shakers, invested in racial equality, in gender equality, in you can go down a whole list of what we consider super progressive causes, and they were fomenting in these groups. That's another thing I think the political left is not engaged with historically, and nobody wants to talk about it.
A lot of people
that so many strong left-wing religious movements. I mean, movements come out of religiosity, which I love. So that was, I thought, such a striking aspect of doing the Ann Lee's story. And it didn't get nearly enough attention, I thought, in the movie or in the commentary on the movie.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like, again, like some of the, because when people have a very, I feel like because evangelicals have difficultly like hijacked religion and expect, religion to be a certain way. But then you also think about like some of the newer religious movements that were progressive, but again, like People's Temple, there was a lot of stuff that was behind closed doors, and that kind of ruined the progressivism of like some of these religious movements.
Well, in America now, you just think the right wing traditionalists and conservatives are aligned with religions.
Yes,
but in the old days, your abolitionists were often part of religious movements. Your feminists, your people forming utopian communities that were free love communities in a number of cases. So it's just a link that's been broken in contemporary life. But I wish more had been made of it. Like late in the film in America, you see that there are a couple of Black members of the Shaker group who are just treated like everyone else, and you're like, okay, fine, but it's just a kind of gesture toward it without going any further.
Well, there's this picture that I found, like this image that somebody like illustration that someone had from the 1830s, I want to say, where it's and slavery was very much still a thing, but in this image the men and the women are standing across from each other in the Shaker house, and then there's a couple of Black men who are like within the group of everybody else doing the dance. And it's like it's not even just that they're that they welcome in Black men or like they welcome in Black women, like they also allow them to engage in this dance and this movement that they do all together, and with like seeing no difference between any of them.
Yes, and that clearly it's what we now call ecstatic, some version of ecstatic dance, and it's clearly a kind of if there's any eroticism that's coming out, it's in those amazing dances. The choreography in this film is just sensational. I mean, that was the talk of the film festivals. I tried to get into the Toronto Film Festival to see it, and every screening was sold out at any time. And that was the wow that everyone, you got to see what people were calling the musical numbers. And it's true that if those are the dances, and they're anything like the dances were, wow, no wonder they were controversial.
Let me be a Quaker. Let's go. Let's shake in and quake in.
I was so bummed out that I missed this, and because I didn't really.
Like you were supposed to, because there was a viewing at near you, right?
So Amanda Seyfried moved to the Catskills, which is like right up by where I am, like a little bit further, like north, and in I want to say in Saugerties, which is like 20 minutes for me up north a little bit. She did Upstate Films just opened up like another movie theater, and her like so Amanda Seyfried came and premiered this and actually like gave a talk. And I wish I had like known that and I would have gone, but I found out the next day it was like, here's a picture of Amanda Seyfried, introducing the Testament of Anne Lee at Upstate Films, and I was like, oh man, like I don't know, I never find out about the things like they had one with Kill Bill and Uma Thurman came and gave a talk, and I found out the next day as well. And I was like,
that's terrible.
In both cases.
But yeah, and that's another thing. Seyfried is so great in this movie. It is a heinous snub that she was not nominated for best.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see a woman carry a film, she's incredible in this film.
Well, also too, this was also the same time that Maid movie with Sydney Sweeney had come out too. So like she was giving her thoughts about like Charlie Kirk and like talk about like how fuck him
exactly
and socialism is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder she got so they didn't want her going all political probably.
Oh, and that's so clearly what did it, because she was being talked up. She was gonna obviously she was gonna be nominated, and then she gave those interviews, and the next thing you know.
Because let's be real here. If Amanda had gotten nominated, she would have been like the sweep of like the actress and not Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. Because I was like, really?
Jessie Buckley was great. You got to give it to Jessie Buckley, even if you hated Hamnet. Yeah, I mean, she was carrying it like incredibly. Plus, she gave multiple
to actress, which I love those stories though. Because I was like reality TV star to actress. Well, it's like with the Amanda Seyfried, like a lot of people were like, she did the Mean Girls, and we really didn't hear much about her because she did the Jennifer's Body, and then she started like do like Mamma Mia and other stuff. And she's really come along as an actress, I think. But she also started.
Well, the reality TV show was something to do with singing, and there's this clip that was going around of Liza Minnelli for some reason was on this UK show with Jessie Buckley, and she's like giving her advice, like because I guess she came in second in like the singing competition or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Here's Amanda Seyfried and Jessie Buckley in a musical together. Hey.
Yeah.
And Seyfried, can sing so beautiful. She has a beautiful voice. Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that like she clearly had like a little bit of anxiety about the singing part of it, because she's like, I'm not a professional singer.
Yeah.
And
they're like,
the singing part of this is like, the singing part of this is so it's breathing more than like, you know what I mean? Like you don't have
very
like,
ethereal almost.
Yeah. You don't have to like do this kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, it almost feels they're like actual Shaker hymns that they have. They have the hymnal from the 1970s because for whatever reason people were really like having that crisis of like crisis of confidence, I guess, but like people were having that crisis of like identity in the 70s a lot because things were changing so fast and people were like trying to catch up with where that moment was. And one of the things is obviously like every cult in the world like kind of exploded in the 70s, and one of the religion kind of revivals, there's like a lot of clips you can find of Shaker, like the Shaker dances and stuff, and it's like from TV shows and like the 70s, because they would go and there was a lot more. I think they had a resurgence for a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's like it's hard to imagine like it's kind of like it's not self-perpetuating at all because of the fact that you have to be celibate and you can't have kids.
It's amazing it hung on as long as it did.
But
I mean, there's three
dancing, seeing these people's bodies move. I mean, how can you control yourself?
Well, yeah, but also just tying the only hope for equality for women was tying it to we've got to get out of this sex trap, which if you're paying attention, especially to her particular life, which is awful, she just keeps, when they do the montage of sex, has a baby dies, sex has a baby, you're like, okay,
maybe it's the sex, maybe we should be having, maybe it's
just the idea of I've got to get out of this broodmare life or I'm never going to be considered, it's impossible to consider me an equal. I mean, just the radicality of that and the logic of that. And of course, Seyfried has been like, look, it's crazy to go for celibacy, but you could understand at the time. I'm always giving this lecture to people. Sexuality at that time is so horrific and people just will not wrap their heads around it, for women especially. But the amount of sexually transmitted diseases that are incurable. If you get syphilis, you're gonna suffer and die to the extent it's so god awful and it's so contagious.
It just comes like,
oh my god! And if you're a woman and you survive in all those childbirths, your body is just going to be worn to a shred, and you're going to die at 40 or something. Most cases, it's awful. So everyone is always like, "Oh, but come on, hot sex." And it's like, I don't think it was hot sex. It really, for so many people,
bathing too. Like,
scary, terrifying potential, lots of potential for terror.
It's like when you
really
watch
terrifying.
like period dramas and stuff like that, you're always thinking, I'm always, because everyone's like Bridgerton or whatever, like everyone's like, oh, sex. I'm like, yeah, but everyone smells probably in these period pieces. If you think logically, like of the time, you're like, oh my god, this person probably has diseases, have like
Well, the one
kids,
in this, right? When
they
the
stink.
I mean, not like the one sex scene that's not Amanda Seyfried is the niece, and they're going at it in the outhouse.
Yeah,
because that was the only place they could really find. So it's like behind the house in the toilets. They're
in
like
the toilet. It's got a reek. Yes, but yes, that's true.
But they needed to do it.
Mm.
But I guess we should go over the plot. All right, Anne Lee is born in Manchester in 1736. During childhood, she and her younger brother William work at a cotton factory. One night, she witnesses her parents having sex and associates the act with sin. During a meal, she says she knows what her father does to her mother, and he beats her hands with a switch. So that's the.
Okay, Joseph Jackson, what's going on here? Okay, like, come on now. I mean, wait, exposing your kid to sex at such a young age or whatever, like, yeah, your kid's gonna find it to be weird.
Well, yeah, and it's followed up later when she's having sex with her husband and he's into light S&M and insists on giving her beatings before he's actually
one pamphlet that like his. I mean, maybe he was into stuff and you don't know about it, but he reads like one pamphlet that his like the apprentice leaves behind, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm into BDSM now.
I guess this is what we do. Yes, every time. Yeah, exactly.
They're the mechanics. That's all you need to know.
So the punitive quality of sex is being driven out. Yeah, exactly.
But it's also like, I mean, I'm assuming, there's no sexual education. Obviously, there's not even like, they don't even teach you to read. So it's like, if you get a manual that's like, here's BDSM stuff. Of course, that's how you think sex works.
I mean, most women did not know a thing about it until it was the wedding night.
And
then there are times where they're like, "What's a pinnacle? What is this? What is that? What am I supposed to be doing?" And it's like, yeah, they didn't know.
Especially when you've been raised in pretty draconian religions, to have to totally be confronted with this is what you got to be doing is going to be quite a terrible shock. Yeah.
So as she gets older, she becomes more pious and takes a job as a cook at a local infirmary. It's so crazy when she tries to leave the infirmary and they're like, oh no, you can't leave. Every inmate is currently having a collective episode or whatever. Yeah. You just hear screaming from the other room, but the screaming almost sounds like the ecstasy of that you later have with these this prayer. It kind of is similar in a way. Like it's a collective cry, which kind of fascinated me. But one day she, William, and their niece Nancy, where's Nancy? Visit the home of Jane and James Wardley, Quakers who preach that Jesus' second coming will be a woman and embrace public confession of sin in impromptu shouting, dance, song as a part of worship. Which is like this movie does a really good job showing you like the utter boredom of this life, right? Like she has to work. First, she's working in like a steel mill or whatever at the smithy but she's working like first at like a cotton mill. She's doing all the stuff with the cotton, which is it's an English cotton mill, which means that like it's probably like American cotton going through the thing once it's been already picked by slaves in America. But but like that's just devastatingly long work, and so like her job as a cook at which is probably miserable, but it's like a step up. But there's still like an utter boredom and like loneliness and like desperation to this life where you work, you go to work, you die, and eventually like pretty young. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like each day must be like a hell for somebody that feels like they have bigger wishes they had something bigger going on.
Oh yeah, and it's grueling, and that makes it quite interesting that she makes work central to the religious practice of the Shakers. So when they show the settlements and everything is just gleamingly clean because everybody works every day. And of course you can't help but think that's another way that you handle celibacy. You have to channel the energies.
You gotta compensate with like something else that can fill that void, because we're now living in a time where even like sex is not as satisfying for people. They find other ways to like get the
they say idle hands are the devil's plaything.
Exactly. So it's already an established idea, but that she instead of saying no, let's make life a much more ecstatic thing, which seems like the dance part of it, But at the same time, she's combined that with an intense work ethic. One of the saints is all about this, that you have to find a kind of work to be a tremendous spiritual practice, which for most of us who have to do housework or whatever is just like, oh my God, how the hell you do that? I do not know. But the repetitive tasks have to be imbued with all of this fervor. And wow, I don't know.
There's also something, I mean, I don't know how much this was ever expressed. There's something almost voyeuristic about the notion of confessing your sins to an entire, to everybody, right? One guy is like
public confession.
At least with Catholics, it's like you got to keep it.
You get to go in a booth. I always think it's so much better.
Some of them are like horrific. Like the one guy is like, I saw my niece bathing naked or my sister bathing naked, and she's only a child, but and I started feeling something inside of me, and it's like,
and then they just go,
But he's like, but he's like getting the I guess he's getting the pedophilia out of himself with. But it's like something like their sins are like, I don't know, like they're either very banal or they're like the most insane, things that you confess to a room. Like,
well, but keep in mind, almost everything's a sin.
that is
in the old time Christianity, everything's
like if you glance at a guy who if you see a little leg,
well, there's that moment towards the end where she's trying to prompt the one woman to confess her sins, and she says, when you had your children, did you receive them all with equal joy? And she's like, "Oh no, I thought about drowning my kid in a well." But
that's postpartum depression, ladies and gentlemen.
But they didn't have a name for that or whatever, and so it becomes this thing like it's a sin not to receive because every child is a child of God. So if you have 7 kids, you have to treat each child like a child of God, and so it becomes a sin not to treat a sin to have favorites among your children or to wish harm on your children because you're wishing harm on God Himself.
Yeah, that's what.
It seemed really impressive. I don't know. I thought that was impressively radical that you were going to be confessing things like that. That's really transgression. I mean, and the whole community is going to kind of embrace you.
I mean, with People's Temple, they actually just beat you up. You literally had to they made you sign like blank pieces of paper, and then they would type up something saying that you did something as if like a form of blackmail, and they would bring you to the floor. And they would tell you that you did this, and you go, and then you get like
there's that famous group that split off from AA, Synanon. And Synanon's big thing was the game, which the game is you have an entire group of people that are all alcoholics or drug addicts, and they scream at each other, and you have to try to find the weakness of the person to like radically break them down. And it's like cult activities, which they ended up going so fucking insane that Synanon ended up like bursting it, but not before they'd spread their like rancid seed every single.
I feel like the Manosphere would have loved that.
Yeah, but they every single wilderness program, the troubled teen industry, all of those things are all programs.
Yeah.
So they did that, and then they went, well, I guess we're done. But one day she, William, and their niece Nancy visit the home of James and James Worley. Quakers would preach that. Oh yeah, I already read that part. And becomes a fixture within the group of shaking Quakers. I like the shaking Quakers. And Mary's fellow believer Abraham. Anne's trepidations around sex are worsened by her husband's interest in sadomasochism and oral sex, as well as the tragic death of all 4 of their children in early infancy.
Oof.
And that it's such a hard.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, that's a rough.
Also, who taught Abraham about oral sex?
Did Stack talk about the button and the coos? What's going on here? Like, what happened?
But it's like I didn't think about this until we were just talking about it. When he receives that book, it's like probably the first time he's ever had like almost like a manual to what to do to have sex. Like he probably doesn't know anyway. So it's like imagine like the thing you get, the manual you get or whatever is like a cheeky book about no pun intended about like sadomasochism and BDSM.
It was not the Kama Sutra, that's for sure.
Eventually, the Shakers sufficiently unnerved the locals and disturbed the peace, including interruption of a church service. The authorities arrest Anne and imprison her for 14 days. They are genuinely the most annoying. Like just thinking about what it must be like to be the neighbors of the Shaker community. Like they are genuinely the most probably annoying When the cops burst in, they're still going ah, 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 like that, and then the one cop, Bobby, I guess, because it's a British cop, but they start hitting them or whatever, and they're still screaming as they hit them, but they're doing like the motions of ecstasy, and it's like they're like, we've gotten complaint. You've been doing this for 3 days. You've done like a rap of 3-day service, and it's like. Just imagine you're just sitting there, you're trying to eat dinner. Your life's already miserable because you're like, you're in Manchester during the turn of the Industrial Revolution, probably missing half your fingers. You're sitting there, you're eating food, like you're trying to eat your soup or something with like fingers gone, and then you hear,
I see why the American wilderness seemed like the perfect place. There's nobody out there practically.
It kind of also reminded me of like, like during like the Salem witch trials where like, especially like in the Crucible, where in the beginning you see like all the girls get undressed and they're like dancing in the rain or something like that. Like it's giving that, and also like the dancing plagues or laughing plagues, like these weird like contagious group like psychosis where people like communities just all come down with like a weird, I don't know what to call it, but it kind of reminded me of that almost.
Well, I didn't think about this until Eileen said the thing about syphilis at this time, and it's like. You like people might have that collective, like your brain goes pretty fast with syphilis.
Rots in your head, basically.
So it's like you can see, I mean, on top of there's like the famous thing where it was like the dancing plague or whatever, where they had the and that was like they ate mushrooms that they either knew or didn't know were hallucinogenic mushrooms. So there's like all these different things, but it's like you could see people in a community of people that like spread syphilis to each other because you're only having sex with each other. In this, you probably were never going to go more than 20 miles from where you live, like at most. So it's like
someone must have slipped in to be the main carrier, Typhoid Mary of syphilis, huh?
But it's like you could see this collective breakdown in that way, like when people had these, people were seeing visions all the time, and it's like, well, also your body is like ravaged from disease. You probably are seeing visions quite frequently.
Well, we should also emphasize that a lot of the protest is over her being a woman who's preaching, and that one of the things she loves about the Shaken Quakers is the woman who's she's married, but she's taking a leading role as the preacher, and that's
and they have this solicitous, flirtatious relationship. Like I don't think it was intended to overtly say like perhaps there was some kind of some kind of intimacy between them, but when she visits her in jail during this part, she's stroking her hair. She's being the mother figure, but there's also something like I don't know, intimate and like flirtatious about the way that she's talking to her.
You know what? Maybe back then they coined the term "mother is mothering," perhaps.
But that's why I said Gen Z should love this movie. She hates sex, and she's called mother. Just all over this one.
and there's singing and dancing, like good tick. You know what? This film should have been like one of those where it gets clipped all over TikTok, like in reverse, like mirrored backwards or whatever, with like here's what's going on, and when you hear like the actual dialogue, because for like the ADHD brain, that's like a perfect scenario to like look at.
I will say though, they should have gone west. They should not have gone east, I think.
Yeah, west. I get it.
Because they started spreading to the east, and they should not have. They should have gone westward, which is where Pennsylvania. William Penn is the famous Quaker. Like that was a very Quaker friendly state. It was like a Quaker colony essentially. They should have moved that direction towards the wilderness. They should not have moved to Massachusetts, more than anywhere else, Massachusetts, and it's like that's where the witch burnings already happens. Like those are not people. Those are the people most likely to fucking kill you at this point.
A woman preaching, possessed by the devil, perhaps.
They are full blown like Puritan weirdos there at this point. And like now, maybe people in Massachusetts are a little more chill, but it's like but back then, right? Those are the people that burned everybody at the stake. Like that's the community.
It's like that. Really, burn the witch. I have a spell to summon big booty Latinos. Release the witch.
Well, it's certainly true. That's what happened with the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, is they had to go west.
Right. They all lived in Utah, and they all lived happily ever after at the end, right?
It doesn't get talked about enough that I mean, I think it's closer to where you are than where I am, but I think it's like Western New York rather than up like northern New York, but
Mhm.
the Mormons started in New York, and they
Yes.
had to move west.
They did and got driven out. They kept getting driven
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Actually, downstairs, sometimes like the Mormons, they actually like the LC, they actually rent out some of the apartments here for like a year or a few years, right? And you can tell because, you know, obviously with the way they dress, like the women are dressed conservative, guys, and they were trying to recruit me, and I'm like, you don't want me.
All right, the trick to it is you have to act like there's a possibility that they can recruit you. You have to talk to the elders, and you have to say, "But I have these like these things that I need done in my house," and they'll do they will come to your house and do those things.
They would be
helpful.
washing everyone's cars at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, go to bed. Everyone sleeps at 4 a.m.
I had a friend that
except for Forrest, he doesn't sleep at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I don't sleep at 4. But my friend's grandma had converted to Mormonism, and their family was like very involved in like, you know, kind of Mormon stuff, because we have a Latter-day Saint place, but like you know, in town, but it's not very big, like it's a tiny one. But the Mormon elders would come to their house and do all this stuff, and they'd be like,
Mormons should have their own like
the
elders.
The elders are not. The elders are like kids. Like they're like the Mormon elders.
They become elders quite young.
But she has a vision of herself levitating and of Adam and Eve in the garden, which she takes to mean that original sin was fornication, and therefore humanity must abstain from marriage and sex. She shares with the other Shaker leaders, and they determine she must be the female Messiah. He's the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah.
Not as a woman.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Renaming her mother Anne, William ends his secret homosexual relationship with his lover and commits to supporting Anne.
Yeah, find yourself a good beard. You know, like we love that.
I mean, I liked that they had William, which I think there's some stories that say that he dealt with like homosexuality as like something pulling him, you know. But you know, who knows if it was written later. But I like that he's dealing with like he's in a relationship with a man, and that's like, you know, the most sinful thing you can really do in this moment.
My celibate wife and end this relationship. It's you
know. After an angry crowd injures Anne and her followers, they elect to leave Britain for New England, funded by Hocknell, a wealthy farmer. You never think about like a lot of the people that are wealthy at this time. I think are people that own the farm. They own the farm, not farmers, but like
they're not actually working on the farm. They own it.
They own it.
They sail aboard the Mariah. Another time, by the way, they're so fucking annoying, and I feel so bad for the crew of the ship. This
oh, that's a hilarious scene where they're all yelling, "Shut up!"
They're like they do the and then they keep
like,
doing it, and then they're like, "Shut the fuck up!" And they're like, they keep singing. They're like, you know, like, "Oh, this concert, shut up!"
I know that is like the Monty Python thing, John.
Yeah. Eileen, I was thinking that. I was like, wait a minute, this sounds like a Monty Python bit.
There are moments in this that are like very, very funny. Movie.
I get it. You know.
But they
and there is this moment where Seyfried, you know, eyes them, and she's got these huge saucer eyes, and she really looks very baleful. Like, are you going to try and take me out? And I was a little sad it wasn't followed up. Like, you know, she's a seer. She actually has visions that apparently come true if you can buy any aspect. You know, she's the one who sees the angel, says we won't die, and then they don't die, and blah blah blah. So it does seem like she has a kind of witchy power that they could have done more with. I think I was a little disappointed that didn't follow.
I wonder about like just the idea of like suspension of disbelief. Like maybe they weren't, you know, I mean, Mona and like Brady Corbet, like maybe they weren't necessarily fully confident that the disbelief could be suspended that much.
I think they were struggling a little with it. Yeah. That's all I can assume, because there were roads they definitely could have gone down, and they definitely did not go down.
Yeah, like you see it's kind of cool. You see the snake, and you see them getting pushed out of the Garden of Eden, and like that's her vision. But it's happened so fast. It's like it flashes.
It's fast. It's timid. It's just a timid version of, you know, 'cause she has this. She says she sees like the whole history of humankind played out before her.
Yeah,
she has a vast vision. I'm sure there's budgetary things too, but I mean, with a vision, you can do a lot of creative stuff. and they were very, very tepid and timid. I was unhappy about it.
They liked the image of the stump, the tree where you plant the tree and the roots come up, and everyone's like, oh, that means that we're going to plant deep roots of faith in the community.
Yes. Yes. And that will be our symbol that
Upon arriving in New York City, Anne sends William and the other men north to find a land for their community. The men are guided by a vision Hocknell has, which includes his finger wagging uncontrollably after 3 days of prayer. The shaking digit points him to the Meadowlands site. During the months spent waiting to hear back from the men, Nancy, following an assignation with Richard in a privy discovered by his father, leaves the community to marry Richard. Abraham leaves Anne frustrated with the marriage and lack of sex after bringing another woman into Anne's bedroom, having that woman perform oral sex on him while Anne turns her back in disgust.
Oh, Lord, what?
Yeah,
that was the hardest, I think, part to watch for me. It's just like when he leaves,
you force someone to watch doing,
yeah. But just that whole part of it where he just can't accept that his like, because he's such a beta figure. Like the whole time he's on the ship, he's just kind of like silently sitting there.
Oh, I know he's never on board, metaphorically. And yet I kept waiting. It took the longest time for him to finally rebel. It really takes years. Yeah.
Kristina, do you want to switch off for the?
Yes. So that spring, Anne and the others rejoin William in oh my God, Nisakayo? I think is that how you pronounce it?
Nick. Wow. Niskayuna. It's in Schenectady. Schenectady.
Yeah, I don't know. Where they have begun developing a settlement, William sent out to preach at other established communities. The population steadily grows with converts and fondling children who are adopted into the community. Yes. I do like that. It seems like things are kind of like going well, you know?
Yeah.
Like things are going, for now.
They moved too far east. I'm telling you, the thing is they moved too far east.
Yes.
Because they're finding Niksayuna. I don't know how it is. But they're finding Schenectady, New York. They're doing all right. And then they start moving into Massachusetts, and that's when things get bad. But it's like they've opened a bunch of communities very, very fast.
Yeah. So this number also shows the development of the Shaker aesthetic in furniture and architect, as well as some of the items invented by the Shakers.
They really do make nice wardrobes. They make nice shelves. There's a lot of chairs, of course. Like
I've seen all of them.
Their signature chairs that look very uncomfortable, but they are very beautiful.
Yeah.
So Anne is arrested by the Continental Army for insisting their community remain neutral during the war. Oh, Switzerland. How do you feel about that?
Well, I really you're not brought into it until like that moment where it's like, oh yeah, like this is when the American Revolution is happening, and they've come over from like England, like not that long ago.
So their loyalties are in question, and it's treason, and
Pete's going around yet to sing which side are you on, you know, like
there's a thing that happened apparently with a sheep where a guy was walking with he had a sheep from one of the Shaker communities. He's walking with a sheep towards where they said the British line was, and that's the thing that actually sparks this like mass beatdown. Is like a guy had a sheep that they were like, he's bringing that sheep to the British.
Yeah.
So after being freed by the sympathetic governor, she travels around New England, establishing Shaker communities. Through some people suspect her of witchcraft. Typical. You're a woman, witch. That is it.
And it starts with the guy that just didn't fit in the community.
Yeah.
And he claims that she promised him all these things, like which she is doing to a lot of these people. She's like, it'll be beautiful. You're going to be saved. The end's coming. Like she's promising these huge things. And the guy ended up just not being a good fit for the community, which, like, you know, I mean, a lot of people probably weren't a good fit for the community because they're asking you to be celibate.
Yeah. Probably.
But it's like the guy ends up writing that long screed, and then basically he ends it by being like, oh, she's a witch, but also she's a threat to national security. And like that's when William was like, oh, whoa, that's actually a big deal. you're being accused of basically being a national security threat. You're being a jihadist or whatever.
I mean, but really, when you think about it, their belief in her is amazing, because think of how much less trouble at least they might have had if they'd said, we need a guy to basically front for the group and act like he's the leader of the group. But they don't even do that. I mean, having a woman lead is a huge part. It gets to people, not just the truth. This stuff. So they're okay, I think.
All right.
Okay, I'm losing you guys. Technical difficulties.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we keep going?
StreamYard's keep going. StreamYard's been weird for the last couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Anne recruits new followers at a local farm where they are attacked by an angry mob. The farm is burned down and several Shakers are beaten and killed. And while telling the Shakers not to retaliate, is stripped naked below the waist by men who question her gender, calling her eunuch, and it before pronouncing that she has the proper parts but is not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, they transvestigate her.
Yeah, that. Oh, when I saw that, I was like, oh god, this is like early transvestigating happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this, you would think that something like this, would definitely like hit hard today, considering what we now learn what Tennessee is trying to do with transgender people in the state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's whenever it's something like that, there's such a latent sexual element to it.
Oh, absolutely. It's clearly handled as it's a rape. It's
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just, it was very hard to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, because at the same time they're beating the brother to death.
Yeah, there's just a lot is going on.
It's a brutal scene. Mm-hmm. Well, and the whole, you're right. We can declare you not a woman if you have the following qualities that we associate with men, which are like power.
Yeah.
So that kind of we're the ones who get to define. You're right. That's a powerful sequence that didn't get enough attention, I don't think. The movie just didn't. After it was such a triumph on the film festival circuit. It really didn't seem like it got the attention it deserved at all.
It had been because of Amanda Seyfried, talking her politics and stuff like that. They were probably like, oh, but as you mentioned before, Eileen, this is a very almost like very progressive type of religion in a weird way. I mean, having her, being, in charge or whatnot, and the dancing and the singing, because when we think of religion, we think of just sitting, praying, listening to the guy at the podium or whatever. But like, some churches nowadays have like folk music, everyone's standing up, singing and dancing. You kind of might, give credit that the Quakers were kind of responsible for that, because a lot of people have been doing that. And I feel like, maybe they don't get the credit, for starting that.
Well, that and the black church, always was being held up as the ecstatic, community. Everyone can join in singing, in moving, in dancing. That's the alternative to Protestant, white Protestantism, basically.
Yeah. But there's like such a there's such a an utter rejection, not all the time, but at certain times of like women being priests or women being involved in the community. Like I was reading recently just this book Gotham that's like just a long history of New York City, like from like the founding. And there's so many times where just there's that moment of like I don't want to say counter revolution, but like just reaction, I guess, where women will be involved in all of these charitable things, and women will be involved in all the, and then there's a moment where it gets men decided it went too far, and they're like demanding that women stop doing charity, or demanding women stop being as involved in the church, or like there's all of these things where it just, I don't know, and it flips on a dime, and you can never really tell what it's gonna, because everyone always talks about this now, because we have these moments of reaction all the time, and it's like people are like, well, we can't go too far, and it's like, but you never really know what too far is going to be. Like,
yeah, I mean, look at the Catholic Church and all that. Like, that's why a lot of people are like, that's why we can't be ordaining women to be priests or whatever. We got to have them be like nuns or this or that, like their own special little roles, without them having actual like head power.
Right. Oh, how many years? Yeah, of
Yeah,
when
and
the
even
Catholic Church fought for any kind of
and all
Yeah.
the very rigid rules that a lot of women in these religious Catholicism had to follow, because these priests, a lot of them were not celibate, and a lot of them were probably, definitely sexual predators and pedophiles.
They're trying to take down my boy Pope Leo right now, because I guess they're claiming that he was involved in the 1970s with a Pachamama festival when he was in Peru, like the Peru. So like that's the Earth Festival. So it's like
I still cannot believe we have an American Pope, because I remember, because my Uma, big Catholic, love the Pope, whatever. So like when she passed away, and then they were doing like the Pope, like they had like the list of all the all the potential candidates, and I saw like someone make a TikTok with like like sports, like the ESPN whatever. And I'm like, this is exactly what's going. I'm like, this is basically like the NFL draft for Catholics.
Right.
But you want to bring it home?
Yes. Oh, they also accuse her of witchcraft. Badly injured, Anne recalls her childhood with William. During their journey home, William dies shortly after, while a prominent follower and the movie's narrator, Mary's blinded in her left eye. A year later, Anne, who never recovered from the attack, dies at age 48. She's buried in the village, now a thriving, self-sustaining religious community. The credits mention the peak population of various Shaker communities, and that there are only 2 Shakers left as of July 2025.
So there's a third now, apparently.
Yeah. Woo, can I be the fourth? I could just have the fourth.
But what's a little sad is if you can get your head around the celibacy, which we no longer can because we all have birth control and most of these diseases are curable, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Think of like all of the people who are orphaned. Think of all the foundlings. You could have seen it as a religious movement that could have taken care of potentially of a lot of social ills if it had been allowed to kind of flourish. Yeah. Again, I do think the movie hasn't quite been as radical as it could have been. It could have done more with the implications of because all those utopian communities were about reimagining how we live. Let's do it differently and do it better.
Like I guess it's probably 2 generations down. It's like Fanny Wright, who was preaching, utopian socialism, but also just like not getting married and having more of a free love. There's the free love colony. And it's like that really freaked a lot of people out. But at the same time, the social ills, right? Like New York State abolished slavery and slowly abolished it pretty much, so that in 1799 the first slaves would be free, the children, so they freed children, and then in 1827 or something they freed like more, like, so they did it over time, and you could see a community like this one getting people who just don't have anywhere else to go, who are slaves, and they're like, all right, well, you're free now, and we don't really want you around the community anymore. But like you can see a community like this taking a lot of people on.
Yeah, it could have just been a sanctuary haven that expanded the numbers in an extraordinary way. Yeah, there's so many. There's such a lack of places for people to go in. I'm just thinking of society right now. There are so many people who would like to do useful work, feel at one with the community, and there's just nothing.
That was unfortunately kind of the whole point of Jonestown,
that's where cults have always, there's a lot of I feel like there's more cults than ever right now.
Because it always starts with a religion. Because the thing is, no one joins like a cult. You join a political organization or a religion or a church, and your community with people, and then one way or the other, ego and definitely ego and drugs kind of get in the way. Because when you look at like some of these religious figures, you're like, oh my God, what happened to them? And I'm like, ego, money, drugs, getting high on their own supply.
It's kind of extraordinary if you think about it. I don't think, as far as has anyone ever heard of in the Shaker community there was a sex scandal or abuses of power? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
but now it's like it's kind of like part of like the norm for like churches to have all these types of like abuse and sex scandals, and it's like maybe. I don't know. It's just fascinating that it's kind of like part and parcel of like the culture now.
Yeah. The thing that kind of fascinated me about like looking into the Shakers a little bit is that you look at something where it's people that are proclaiming celibacy, but usually those are like, hey, the men are going to stay over here, the women are going to stay over here. And we don't trust that these people are going to, if they intermingle, they're just going to want to have sex. Right. And in the case of this, it seems like they're dancing together, they're in community together,
Yeah.
they're trusting
Hormones are racing together. You never
Mhm.
know, you know.
but they're trusting that people are going to be able to well, number one, find busy work, because devil's hands are
They're all going to work like hell.
Yeah,
every
work.
day.
They got to substitute.
So they can be very tired at night.
But it's also, you can also voluntarily just leave if you can't take it. So it's like there's kind of, I guess, an assumption that, and I'm sure that there's like a lot of shaming that goes into it too. But like there's an assumption that if you're like, I don't know, if you want to, you can just leave the community. Like you no longer believe in the values of the community.
But it certainly seemed like the movie at the end, you spend all this time now showing the workings of the spaces and the people. They file in, and file out and move about the spaces, and the spaces are beautiful. They're super simple and spare, but they're just glowing with light. And I think there's no question that the movie is trying to present this as a kind of utopia that should touch us right now, because it has everything we don't have, especially in America. We tend to live in ugly, loud, cluttered, nasty communities. America, most certainly cities, most towns are quite ugly.
Yeah.
We don't have a strong aesthetic sense in most of our communities.
Yeah, like a lot of people wonder why all the McDonald's and Wendy's, they all look brown. I'm like, it's because of Wall Street and insurance.
Yeah, our whole system just doesn't give rise to the aesthetic, the beauty of the workmanship and the aesthetic qualities, because that's all labor intensive and cost intensive.
Yeah,
you have to have it as a priority.
I mean, look at cinematography. You're in yellow. I mean, come on now. Like
there's also like it's a community free from capitalism.
Exactly.
Like there's no
working for the common good.
Yeah. Yeah, and on top of that, they have the moment where they say they were trading teachings to the locals in exchange for goods and services. But then they developed the chairs and like this really amazing furniture that kind of I think it came later, but I like that they have it in the movie, because otherwise it'd be like, well, these aren't even the Shakers. But like all of that stuff became a way that they could trade with people, in their local communities.
Yeah, it just struck me as interesting that the movie wants to end, or the director seems to want to end it. Not only does she want to end at their peak, when she can list what the peak memberships were, she can use the little tree designs and things that they made as, re-emphasize those and just re-emphasize the beauty and the harmony. It seems as a way to make you kind of wistful for what most of us do not have.
And make you wonder, like, what happened though? How could there be possibly only 2 or 3 Quakers left? Like what is that story? Like I get, I know
you're right. When you think of it, the Amish are doing way better.
Yeah. Like
and
it's interesting because some movies, they end when there's a peak, and it's like, because obviously this film does, there's a struggle to get to this full perfect peak. So it's like we don't really think about like what happened, like how did it get so small? Like we just have like, everything's all nice.
Which it could have done. It could have done a Brutalist and had a part 1, part 2.
Actually, you know what? Maybe it's good it didn't do a Brutalist term, because
y'all went to Israel. This one happened. No, but what really devastated them, I think, because their peak comes a lot later than this, is the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812 kind of they aren't necessarily, they're impressing. Well, the British are impressing people into service, but it's less. I think it's less of that. The Civil War is where it really takes effect. That like, oh no, we're just gonna like you can pay to get out of it, but if you don't have any money, like you're cannon fodder. And I feel like that is part of the thing. And because it's a conflict within the country, it's not like a lot of those wars have been on our soil, but it's like you can't really avoid it, really, because so much of the country is inflamed in this conflict. I guess that
it was certainly going to be harder.
There's a lot of
down south where we're going to be raging in your backyard, essentially.
A weird amount of like the people who have done just war, kind of like war stuff, right? Like whether it's like Nixon, obviously our Quaker president. I think Herbert Hoover also had a Quaker background. But like there's also like there's people there's like a lot of people who were in the military that were lapsed Quakers because they were like, I want to go into a life of service and not call my parents thee and thou anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole concept of the life of service seems barely hanging together in our current.
You really? I'm like, listen. If would I rather fight in a war that I'm probably gonna die in, or live in a nice little utopian community? I don't know. If I was a guy, I would be like, you know what? I'd rather do that. Though,
yeah.
so.
Oh no, it totally worked on me. The whole ending. My podcasting partner Dolores was very scornful. She said it looks like a restoration hardware. She had no respect for the final views of the Shaker community, but I was very, very moved by what I don't have. Very much.
Yeah. I feel like a film like this could work, like because something. I mean, in a weird way, this could be considered like a biopic in a weird way. Like in a world where in a post like Walk Hard or post like Bohemian Rhapsody, it's getting to the point where where they're trying to figure out what can work with like a biopic. Like, do you like the Robbie Williams where he's an ape, or even like Rocket Man where it's like an actual musical fantasy, or like Bruce Springsteen having a sad girl era with like just like the Nebraska album. So maybe it was a good idea for them not to really expand beyond like past, when they actually really did like reach their peak, or where they had like their downfall and whatnot. Because I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like, these figures, are they real? Are they not? Are their stories real? Stuff that's been passed down? Are they like folklore type legends? So, I mean, I feel like this actually does, and making this a musical in a way, adds a little flavor to it, I think.
Well, especially making it the most astounding part. That's what's going to move people, even people who didn't like the movie. It would comment on that. Somehow the musical numbers are amazing.
Yeah.
Again, the especially if you don't, I'm not particularly familiar with the Quaker hymns. The way they were arranged and the way they were choreographed was so sweeping and just performed with such conviction that they really did have a tremendous kind of crystallized power. They could stand for the whole movie.
It's incredible that they didn't write any, because they are the Shaker hymns, right? Like they didn't write anything for it. They just incorporated stuff that already kind of was telling the story, or stuff from a lot of it's from a very different time in the Quaker. Like I don't know, like
you can literally like find this. You can find the hymns and be like, we can actually write it like a script around the hymns to really tell the story.
And
which
they
kind
didn't.
Of makes me just want to ask, why did she want to do this movie? I mean, I like this movie, but it's an interest, and usually we don't get interesting choices. So many movies are just like
a movie about like the leader of the Quakers. Like,
I know
who left? Why?
This is like not an obvious choice. So I mean, that was part of what I loved about it. But like, why do it?
Yeah. So she's talking about her research process. I can't remember if this is the clip where she says anything about like why this originally. But
did you do that? Because I know a lot of people in the room are like, how do you fund a movie? So we would welcome any insight you have.
Well, it's a lot. We made a teaser for this movie. So we shot in Massachusetts, like a pre-shoot for 2 days. We choreographed a piece. Celia did a piece for it. Daniel did a song for it. Amanda came and we got caught in the snow and our trucks broke down and all those fun things. But at the end of it, we had a couple minutes to show like what this film would be, and those minutes ended up in the movie. And then we showed that to everyone to say, hey, look, this is what the total art will be. And we gave them a script, and almost everyone passed. And and then we...
So essentially a proof of concept that you were able to send people for look and feel and tone.
Yeah. I think, but you have to do it as something that you truly is part of the movie. I think it's important. Like we shot on 35 millimeter. We
just started making the movie and then tried to find people who wanted to make it with us, and then and also it's an ambitious, bold, visionary idea and film. Thanks to Mona, and so it's easier to sell that. It's like we could, we're trying to make radical, impossible cinema in an era where that's becoming harder and harder and harder. So for the right people, that's an exciting pitch, because you get to be part of something that,
It's only the true believers are on board with this.
Yes.
And tell me about the research aspect of assembling the story, both from the writing side, but also just making sure that everything was accurate while allowing yourselves some artistic license. But this is a very unique period of time in the world, unique clothes, unique production design, the furniture, et cetera. How are you researching this and then you sort of being able to weave this into the script? So maybe either one of you.
Well, I mean, it's such a joy to do this kind of research for me. Like, I just love it. It's so great. So I spent years just diving into this part of history. And you know, obviously, I think most people are familiar with their incredible design. You know, the boxes and the chairs and the peg rails, and you know, even that this is sort of like the cornerstone of American design. Really, is shaker furniture, shaker design. So that was really available. But the rest of Ann Lee's story, certain parts of her life, there's only a sentence or just a few little bits and pieces that are available. And then you have to fill in the blanks by, you know, studying Manchester at the time and how people lived and how, you know, and then sort of drawing from that. But then after you do all that research, you also have to kind of let it go as you write and just say, now I'm telling the story, now this is my story. I wanted to end fully in what we know as the Shaker aesthetics, which is not really, that came a little bit later, so that's some, you know, took some creative liberties there. And then other little bits and pieces where it's also just, this is now me telling a story from my perspective. So, yeah.
So you allowed room for your own art to creep in.
Yes, and I brought in, you know, we brought in all these hymns and we made a wild, radical, original score that is not, you know, the hymns. And so there's, you know, and the choreography is an interpretation of what it could be and based on sort of drawings and images in the end of what it potentially was. But it's still, you know, no one knew, so you have to, yeah.
I also think that taking that research and making it into the film, right? So like our designer, Sam Bader, did such an amazing job. And we had to, on the Brutalist end this, it was a challenge of how do we make a movie about design where we have very little money, right? We can't build a shaker village. We don't have the money to make all this furniture. And so building a way of, you know, making a period film, making a design heavy film on this budget was also like a huge part of, you know, bringing it to life.
So she said, I was trying to look for the why part of it.
Right.
She said that she heard a Shaker hymn during her second film, World to Come, in 2020. And then everything about her story appealed to me. This was just incredibly cinematic. And I thought it was wild that nobody had told this story before because I thought it was such a fascinating part of American history. The legacy of the Shakers is quite grand in terms of design, but she's overlooked. And I think that's because she led from this egoless place. It was about creating community, and that's quite common for female leaders. Therefore, the footprint of what we leave behind is much less noticeable. The Shakers were the first community in America to provide social services. Women who were abused would come there for sanctuary. They would care for the elderly and adopt and care for orphans. And so that kind of got her thinking about this. Which I mean, she's Norwegian, right? Like it's she probably has a more complete like sense of that kind of social safety net and like the welfare state than we do.
And I think that's what I was trying to get at. Is it seems like what are the values sneaking in, especially if you look at both Fastvold and is it Corbet? Is that how you say his name?
Corbet. Corbet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But at any rate, they both want to do, you know, visionary cinema, and there's even a couple of crossover points that you could talk about with the Brutalist and this. They're both immigrant stories, and they're both traumatized people who come to the new world. Yeah. To kind of try to find a new way to be.
But did Adrian Brody deserve that Oscar again for playing another Holocaust survivor? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a big performance. It was a big showcase performance. I don't know.
And
he's not a huge favorite of mine, I have to admit. So
it was 4 hours. The rape scene in that movie really upset me.
I was like, this is worse than anything by a billion.
Well, for me, the whole one of the big failings of that movie is, as far as I can judge, if you look at the movie as a whole, it seems to be about this psychosexual sickness at the heart of anti-Semitism. Yeah, which you could expand to racism, which is quite accurate, I think. and you're going to see it play out in various permutations until it leads up and accumulates into the overt rape. Okay, but he did such a bad job.
Yeah.
There's so many distractions and so many ways of looking at the film, and you're all over the place. And especially part 2 is a mess, I think. I think the movie's just a mess. That for a lot of people, that didn't compute at all. I mean, so the earlier scenes were like the furniture store guy, and the wife is hot minx, and she seems to be coming on to him. And then the husband comes to his bedroom and then starts accusing him of having, been after the wife, which doesn't appear to be true. So there's all of this swirling, disturbing sexuality going on. But again, you can't focus on it.
And it's also just like the flaws of genius. And it's like, like a person that's truly like this genius visionary kind of figure.
Yeah.
And everything that goes into that and the brokenness of somebody like that, especially after this or everything happens. But it's like,
part of what's included is he's supposed to be impotent and he has all these sexual problems. So that's another permutation.
Yeah.
But again, you find yourself just getting pulled to this scene and to this scene, and some of them are quite memorable, and others are just like, I'm floundering here. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how all this is connecting together.
Yeah. But this movie actually has it's cohesive.
Yes, this is a much more cohesive film. That is true. That is definitely true.
And yet the Brutalist got all the Brutalist got all the awards or whatever.
The Brutalist, epic,
just for conclave,
male-centered. There's so many things that I think people are much more ready to look at the epic story of a man of, big if flawed, a kind of great man in a way story that I think is just more familiar. And clearly award ready than something like Testament of Anne Lee.
Yeah. Kristina, you wanna do the old one-liners?
Yeah. So, as you all know, Letterboxd is a place where film lovers, film haters, film curious gather around with each other to discuss the films that they love, the films they didn't love, the films that they kept saying, "Mother is mothering." Over and over and over again. I'm not even joking. It's like, okay, can I find something a little different?
It's giving mother.
It's exactly. It's giving mother. It's giving like, or the films that Gen Z which should like. But this is Best of Sixthly, of course, in these Letterboxd one-liners that we do for every episode. Cone is not here, so I'm in charge now. Haha. Now, you all know this is a bottom demography. It's not just the Siskel's and Ebers of the world. Everyone gets a chime and opine. So here, without further ado, with the Letterboxd one-liners for the Testament of Anne Lee. Mamma mia, here we go insane.
Imagine if the only modern song in this movie was "Mamma Mia." Here I go again. And it's right at the end, and it's the end credits.
Imagine there being a third Mamma Mia movie. That is right. There is another one. There's gonna be a third one.
The one thing that, and we're gonna talk about this on our next episode, I guess, because we're talking about The Bride. But one of my favorite things about The Bride was the fact that the end credits was just the Monster Mash.
Yeah, that was funny. I actually liked that a lot.
After making it through the entire movie.
A lot.
I liked it. I felt like it was just such an insane like I couldn't hate it because the swings were just too big.
Yes, take more risk. I mean, I loved it. Right?
But I just really liked sitting there in the theater, making it through like that insane ending where everything's kind of like exploding around everyone, and then it's just like we did the mash.
Yes. Perfect song. Thumping my chest with ecstatic devotion.
I was thinking about the scene in Wolf of Wall Street with Matthew McConaughey going,
oh yeah,
that's right.
It's like its own shaker ritual.
Yeah, is Matthew McConaughey a shaker? Just kidding.
All right. It's time to shake.
It was given that, Oh, it's giving. I do this too if it meant not having to sleep with men in the 1700s.
Yeah.
God said, nah, to the sins of the flesh. Sorry.
Isn't it such a perfect way to get out of sex? You're like, sorry, God actually just came to me and said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Don't take it up with me. Take it up with God.
You gotta listen to him. You gotta listen to the big man. You gotta listen to the big man upstairs. He knows all. He knows right. It's just nice to see dancing and movement shot wide so you can actually see it. John M. Chu found dead in a ditch, to be honest.
Excellent. That's a great comment. Yes. It was really well shot. Finally, because musicals now are a travesty. God.
It was bright too. Like I think the brightness, like
we didn't need like sun in the background to get in the way of like everything, because that was my one gripe with the Wicked movies. Like the sun is in the way in some of these scenes.
well, she's clothed by the sun, so
Yeah.
the sun leaves her alone.
The Brutalist, folie et deux.
No.
I love the idea. It's like, yeah, that's his girlfriend who directed this film, so let's make a little musical too. But I mean, I feel like again, this film made me like not look at my phone. Like, when is it? Full et deux? I was like, really? This movie's still going on?
Yeah, I was way into it actually. Yeah, very much. But
and it's crazy because there's parts of this movie where she's clearly so fucking bored. like, isn't there any ecstasy that I could do?
She's not just mother; she's your mother's mother.
She's the first mother. The first mother.
Yeah. Hey, that actually could be that. Actually, maybe that was like a working title that they put right for like to ship the movie internationally to other places. You know, without the actual title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think the band Rooney would have been Shakers?
I don't know that band.
I feel like that would be like a Conan Neutron thing. So
yeah, I know. He's
throw that in there for him.
Where is he when we need him? Yeah.
And
no way they made Sinners, but for white women. I mean, I saw that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna slide that one in there too.
See, Sinners wouldn't have, like, in this story, she would have just immediately invited the vampires in.
Yeah. She would have, definitely. 3 against how many Quakers? I feel like the vampires would have been gone at the end. But those are the letterbox one-liners for The Testament of Anne Lee. Of course, you can find Forrest, log it in everything that we do. And
everything everywhere all at once.
Exactly. And I just did my Peaky Blinders Immortal Man very, very simple letterbox one-line review. And of course, I think Conan is still doing his Criterion challenge. I don't know.
He's on tour right now.
Yeah, he's on tour right now, so he has to take a little break. Eileen, what you do on the letterbox? You don't have.
Oh my god, I have to come up with a one-liner. Oh my god.
You actually get paid to do stuff, so you don't have to be on Letterboxd.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
Oh good. Oh good. For a minute I thought I was gonna no. I'm staying out. I'm staying out. I don't do one-liners. No, I do long ass reviews, longer than anyone wants. No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit it with the plugs. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going, since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra, We're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week? Well, Conan's on tour right now. March 22nd, he's going to be in Long Beach, California. March 23rd, San Diego, California. The 24th, Phoenix. The 27th, Austin. 28th, Houston. 29th, New Orleans. 31st, Jacksonville. And then, there's a bunch of other cities from there. But you can go on neutronfriends.com and you can get all the tour dates and the locations if you are in those cities. Kristina, what do you have going on?
Streaming, talking the politics and the pop culture and
with the politics and the pop culture.
Yeah, and also to the Animaniacs are on Tubi, so we've been watching downstream, and a lot of people are like, "Damn, a lot of jokes went over our heads," and also, "Damn, these references are very much like it's like it's timeless." I don't know how the Hulu reboot didn't last, but it's been fun to reminisce and watch like old stuff
and you learned every country on the map.
Yeah, we already did that. We also did all the capitals of the country. Of course, Wacko got the question wrong because he didn't answer it in the form of a question because it was Jeopardy. It was fun.
All right, Eileen, what do you have going on with Film Suck and with Jacobin reviews?
Let's see. Film Suck. We're about to record an episode on the Chris Fleming special live at the Palace. I don't know. It's on HBO. I don't know if you watched it, but Chris Fleming is absolutely hilarious comedian.
Yeah,
got a huge following on YouTube.
I think a company is coming.
Company's coming.
Oh my god,
he's got just some classics. But this is his one. His clearest bid for mainstream recognition, more mainstream, I should say. So anyway, we're doing an episode on that, which is very fun and very exciting for us because I don't think he's not nearly as well known as he should be. And for Jacobin, I'm working on it hasn't come out yet, but it will next few weeks. I'm doing a tribute to Iranian cinema. Iran has one of the greatest cinemas ever, and of course the United States is busy bombing the hell out of the country, and it's not perhaps of the first thing we should mourn, but it's one of the things we should mourn. Anything that to impair the work of some really, really great, transcendently great filmmakers. So that's what I'm working on for Jacobin right now.
Chris Fleming always I have a friend that kind of looks like him.
Oh, really?
Like a similar I don't know, like almost like pansexual kind of vibe to him. So I was
as you said, there's been a national manhunt for his pronouns with people trying to figure out how to classify him.
And Chris is like any.
It says any. Yeah, pick any.
All of the pronouns. I'm surprised someone hasn't, just make a big pile of the pronouns. They're like, all the pronouns. Those are mine now.
Yeah.
But Eileen, final thoughts on The Testament of Ann Lee.
Come for the dance scene. It's because you haven't seen anything, and they're more moving than you think. And stay for the wild-eyed religiosity, which people just don't appreciate nearly enough. It was a very cool history, and again, politically important in a way that's going to trouble, people's way too casual. I'm an atheist and I believe in nothing, man. It's just not even interesting. This is, there was an era of people like. Of really intense belief that had possibilities that we've let go to ground. And this film really is rare in trying to kind of resurrect interest in those series of movements. Yeah,
at least like the social forces involved in them. Yeah, I think that one of the reviews for this that I saw was like fantastically feral.
Yeah.
It really is. But Kristina, final thoughts.
Yes, this it's really sad that this did not get the Oscar love or much award love after doing so well on the film festival, tour basically.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if this is when you saw it, but I saw it when we were doing the Independent Spirit Award thing. And they sent all the screeners, and that's when I saw this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like a film that really just came and went almost, like barely even like came and went. And the fact that Amanda Seyfried could have been like a favorite to like win a lot, just kind of just didn't happen. And it's sad because like in a world where the biopic is very annoying and people are very like bored with cinema. I mean, I will say this with these two directors, obviously, with this film, it is like very visually stunning cinema, very big, bombastic, working, and make it into a musical, with the Quaker hymns, great idea, very creative. I just eventually maybe it'll do well, like with streaming, and I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah. I hope that like right now it's $20 to rent it, and it's like
yeah.
I hope once like the price comes down a little bit too.
Yeah,
they do that thing now where it's like they don't put it in theaters for very long, which sucks. Because I'd rather go see a movie in a theater, and then they do the thing where the next thing they do is that they put it on video on demand and make it $20.
Yeah,
I don't want to sit at home. Like the experience of the movie theater is what I want to pay $20 for them.
That's why I'm glad that I saw The Bone Temple when it came out in theaters. And now, I mean, at least with Netflix, it's like it's quick. It's gonna be on Netflix like in a like next week, thankfully, so more people can see it.
Yeah. But we will be back on Tuesday talking about The Bride. So
with Dead Domain. I'm excited.
With Dead Domain, and they're coming back on for. They came last year around this time, I think, or maybe a little bit later in the year.
Yeah,
to talk about the other guys. But Eileen, thanks so much for coming on. This is good. I liked this movie a lot. So talking about
for
it.
having me. It was a great one to talk about. Yeah.
I feel like if we didn't do it now, it would have slipped through the cracks completely.
Yeah.
But all right. See everybody on Tuesday.